Okay, let's start recording. So welcome tonight to our webinar. It's all about how we can find our passion to work and how we make the transition from a boring or I don't know what we are doing to a fulfillment of a passion, what we are doing with our jobs. So I think it's how to find what we like and how to find what we are good at as well, and to make these both going together to make our new professional life. It's a hard topic, and we want to have this webinar just before Christmas and the New Year, because in the New Year always we are asking ourselves what to do with our life. So, and this could be a very nice start point to be prepared for this question 1 month before and to have the tools to answer the question what to do with our life. So today we have our panel, three women who will share their stories, how they make this decision to go for the path they want to do and they are very good at. So we have today Rachel, and Morgan, and Blanca. So thank you very much, and I let them introduce themselves. So Rachel?
Haha, I kick off?
Yeah, you kick off.
All right, so I prepared, can you hear me by the way? Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I just prepared some short story on what my career path is so far and how I changed and how I'm working on something new now. And let me know if you have any questions. So what I wanted to say is that I always had some sort of interest for writing and speaking and acting and organizing as a kid. And so I was into writing a lot in my teens too, and I decided to study communication sciences in Utrecht, as I thought it would lead me to a journalist job, which I, at that point thought was interesting for me. While studying, I did some courses on marketing and business as well. And then I realized that was more interesting to me because it was also communications and writing, but then more on the commercial side and selling and having a business. So I thought, oh, marketing might be something that I want to get into instead of journalism. But then I did a voluntary internship at Elsevier, one of the Netherlands' biggest publishers. And it was a marketing communications internship, and the internship itself was professional, but I realized how their website was really not professional. It was Elsevier Media, by the way, not the newspaper website. It was not translated well. There was no SEO in place, so no good marketing to be highly ranked, let's say in Google. And I thought at that age, I can do better. And I told my dad about this, like how I discovered how, you know, I could actually add something to this and earn money. And he said, you know what, just go to the Chamber of Commerce and try it out. Why don't you ask them to be your first client? And at that point I was 20 and I was like, okay, let me do it. So I went to the Chamber of Commerce and I was super, super proud. I was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to have my own copywriting business and some marketing on the side. But I never got them as a client, of course. It was just a good thing to start off with as a goal. And then I started doing Dutch and English translations, so back and forth, copywriting a bit, website texts, and then I turned more into SEO, so Google ranking, marketing, communication plans, and interviewing. And at that point, I was almost graduating my bachelor's, and I thought, okay, where do I go? Do I want to continue my business and become a marketing communications agency and do that my rest of my life? I realized then already that I had really tackled the challenge and it was no longer something inspiring to me, but rather something I could just do without, you know, acting or thinking too much. I went off to Spain then. There was this, let's say, a collaboration between junior and senior entrepreneurs. So I, as a junior, could learn from a senior there. And the guy there in Malaga, Spain, was a tech startup incubator guy. So he was running an incubator for tech startups, and he was looking for someone to, to train the startups on marketing and communications. So I thought, oh, I can just, enter in the same field, but then with a new kind of client business. So I went into that and enjoyed that for a bit, and then still realized marketing communications, I do it, but I just do it, too easily. It's not a challenge for me. I don't really think about it too much. I just do it. So then I got back in Holland, and through some contacts, I got into touch with tech incubator Yes Delft, which is in collaboration with TU Delft, and started into marketing communications there as well. But also thinking, okay, this is just a way to get into the incubator, but I don't want to continue this kind of work. And that turned out well, because 2 months later, that project was finished, and they said, well, we are going to set up a new platform for the corporate partners, so TBI, Shell, BOM, Engie, to collaborate with the startups, and we're looking for someone to set it up and initiate it, market it, set up a team, set up a business. So we would like to ask you for, and I said, hell yeah. So I started doing that. And that was a really good one for me, because of course it was something with marketing communications, but it was especially about building a business, getting into touch with big corporates, doing the communications, running a project, keeping everybody satisfied. So that was a big challenge for me. And also there I got into interviewing and doing a lot of videos. So I was kind of combining my marketing communications. But then also that project came to an end, and I thought, I did my job too. The challenge is gone. I set up the team. It's working, it's running. They don't need me anymore. And so I talked to a business coach, and we were talking about all the things that I do, that I enjoy doing, that inspire me. And we actually found out that whatever I was doing was cool to me, but not passion to me. So I could be happy about doing a certain task, or running a team, or doing one-on-one feedback sessions, but I wasn't inspired. And it was really easily said, of course, but it was harder to think of what could be a passion of mine. So I was really crunching on it and didn't sleep for a few nights. I was like, shit, what is my passion? Really, I want to find out now. I really want to act upon this. And then I realized it was a really good idea to go back in my youth and just to write down for every 5 years what I did as a kid. So I found this book called, I think it was called Motivation or Inspiration. And it had like this table, and it said, write down what you like to do at 0 to 5, 5 to 10, etc. So I asked my parents, like, what did I do back then? And what was I like? And all that kind of stuff. And then I just saw this pattern. It was like acting, presenting, presenting, acting, presenting. And I was like, wow, okay, that was easy. And while I was discovering, I was really thinking about how this makes a lot of sense to me. And it was all kind of coming back to me, like I should have acted upon this earlier. So I came back to the business coach and said, well, I found that I think that presenting might be my passion. I don't know yet, but seemed like something I just do naturally and really enjoy. When I get a camera in front of me or a microphone, I will just do it because I love to be in front of a camera. And so she said, okay, let's try it out. Maybe it's not your passion, but we should discover it. So let's do something about it so you can actually try it out. So I then dug into my network and saw and realized that I have a lot of presenting coaches in my network, ones that I actually knew personally. I just didn't realize that I could actually collaborate with them. So I asked, can we, set up a package where I get some skills training in content writing, storytelling, nonverbal communication, auto cue presenting, all that stuff. I just wanted to learn just to see what I really liked and did not like. And I also decided to film that. So film the journey of me becoming a presenter. And that is what I'm doing right now. So if you look at my LinkedIn, you'll see that I'm doing a video series on how to become a presenter in the broadest sense of the word, of course. So I'm talking to experts on nonverbal communication, auto cueing in front of a camera, how to do a storytelling, how to do a perfect pitch without slides, all that stuff, just to, get some more insight into what I really like to develop more. So I've already kind of looked ahead and said, well, I think presenting is pretty much my passion. I think I can say that now already. But how do I make this into a business? Because I'm not a video reporter, I'm not a journalist, but I can definitely make it into something commercial. So I decided to continue the video sessions and at some point end them, maybe January, and say that I will from there on offer myself as an event moderator or as a video reporter for your business or for your event, just to see if it will work out. And this is just a thought in my head that I'm just saying out loud now for the first time. But funny thing that happened like 5 hours ago is that at work, someone said, oh, I saw your first vlog on LinkedIn, and I know you're leaving us, but I think you might be able to moderate our newest project with a big corporate. And it's a 5-day moderation session. So would you be interested? I was like, this is it. So I can say that finding what you really want to do is always a journey. I don't think there's an end to it, but just digging into the things that are really natural to you, like come naturally. Do you talk really easily? Do you pitch really easily? Can you write easily? Those are things that you look over because you're like, oh, I just do that. But those are the things that you can really, really act upon, exploit, commercialize, and put forward more than you would think.
Thank you very much, Rachel. I think it's a
No problem.
super nice story and very well explained. So I think now is the turn of Morgan, and after Blanca, then we start with the questions.
Great. Thank you. First of all, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to take part in your panel. There are a lot of key concepts that Rachel spoke of that I can truly relate to. My story starts, I guess, I could say in high school. So I think maybe from a young age, I also always knew what I was passionate about. And that led me to the industry that I was drawn to and I studied in. So I was, until I think at the age of 3, already sewing and making things. So very creative, but I quite quickly turned that into to a business. I mean, it's nothing quite professional, but by the age of 15, I was already making the graduation gowns and gala gowns for the school for the other girls, for whatever they could pay in their allowance. And then I moved from there to look for a fashion study that was highly technical and had an economic administration side as well. So I found one in Amsterdam, and so that I could get an engineering degree in textiles at the same time as, I guess you could compare it to a BCom, so a Bachelor of Administration. And I've never been afraid. So one thing that I would say is that really led me to where I am is that I was always told to be bold and take risks, calculated risks, strategic risks, but I did. So I moved to the Netherlands at 19 alone, found work and studied for what I thought was going to be a year, but now I have a mortgage and a husband and a child, so and a client base and a business partner. So I probably will stay here for now. And then from that, I moved on to working in the fashion industry, always in positions of management and positions of where I really had to pioneer and go out on a limb and do a lot of problem solving and quite a lot of coaching, mentoring, and training. While I was developing myself in this industry in technical fashion, I was also discovering my strengths, or going back to the roots, if you could say that, and having not being confronted with it, but having moments of just pausing and reflecting. And self-reflection is something that really helped me find my passion and develop that. So from that position in fashion, I got a lot of operational management work because of my skills. I got to the point that I couldn't answer the questions of my clients anymore. I decided to go the entrepreneurial route so I could help more people. And then from there, I thought, well, I need to develop myself further so that I can better serve my clientele. So I did the executive MBA at Erasmus University. And during the study, I met my business partner, and I did I guess you could compare it to a thesis. It's called the In-Company Project. And I did an in-company project for my own company. And that was an inside-out perspective, an exploration of figuring out what I was good at, what I was passionate about, and what I wanted to do for the coming 5-10 years. And what I discovered, or what I realized, is that I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, I guess you could call it. My first business was at 8 years old. It was a lemonade stand. We made a killing with the neighborhood children, more than our pocket money. And I like what Rachel was saying about looking at, focusing on your strengths. I really think that a lot of our appraisals at work or in the corporate world are focused at mitigating our weaknesses and talking about our deltas. But what Olivia and I try to, as my business partner, what we really promote on our platform is focusing on your strengths, being aware of your deltas. And like, for example, there's a book that I recently was promoting in one of my articles that I used, and it's called Strength Finder 2.0. It's also a self-assessment, a quiz to develop your skills. So that, together with lifelong learning and that concept of discovery and developing yourself, that journey, are what really helped me to live my passion then and today, and be open to that being a moving thing, that's a development. And one thing that I've noticed in my career is that you have to, at some point, you can have it all, but not all at the same time. So there have been moments that I'd have to take concessions in one area of my life, or in one area of my career, or with a certain team, but it didn't mean that I didn't have it all. It's just to get where you need. Sometimes it's like one of those board games. It's very strategic. It's 3 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps back, 5 steps forward. And that includes in really that being able to get where I want.
Very nice. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Morgan. So now, Blanca,
wow.
And then the questions.
Wow, ladies. Well, I guess you know me a little bit, and the oldest of the club, I think. In a year and a little bit, I'll be 50. So I'm starting to feel that the half a century bit, that I have changed my life so many times. And contrary to you, I didn't know what my passion was, or what I like really at the beginning. I really got it wrong so many times. I like so many things. I was good at so many things. They praised me for being good at this and that. And when I had to decide career, my parents were getting a divorce. My father is a civil engineer, and I always loved art So I thought, well, the perfect choice was to be an architect, but they were divorcing. So I wouldn't dare to bring to my mother the pain of the presence of my father. So I said, well, what else pays money for somebody who can deal with mathematics? Well, computers. So I studied IT for that stupid reason, for that very stupid reason, because I could make money and I was good in mathematics. But yeah, I could get great grades, no problem about that. But do I love it? Do I really know how to research? Will I stay all nights there? Well, no. And the first job I got was to become an IT auditor. And that was really fascinating because it was to find what was wrong in computer systems. And what was wrong in computer systems is how the computer systems were built, what questions were asked. And that very easily brought me to management because you ask the questions that you are aware to, that you are able to see, that are in your awareness, based on the conversations that you have with the others. So that way, after several years of auditing, I worked for Citibank, for Pricewaterhouse. I moved to Europe and I did my MBA also at the Rotterdam School of Management. And then I figured, wow, the problem is much bigger. It's not banking, it's not Mexico, it's just gigantic. It's really management. We don't know how to talk to each other. And from there, I set up a company together with two professors after the MBA, and that's the best and the worst career decision I have ever made. I was the CEO, but they were the two professors. And they were, I don't know how many years older than I was, so they were like the father figure, and I was supposed to do what they were saying, and I was very agreeable, so I will do what they said, but I was the CEO, so so they were not listening to me, I was not listening to myself. It was such a shock to the system that I could have read all the books of the world, but I was not in that level of strength and maturity to say to these guys, this is the way we're going to do things. And with all the experience that I had, after seeing so many companies, I saw the problems in IBM, how SAP was born, and I was not able to articulate it to these professors. So I quit that world because it was really, I was working basically 24/7. So I went and looked for, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I was really tired. I was so tired. So I looked for the job that looked the most to that IT auditing that I did before, and I ended up in the European Space Agency. But as I was really fast coming from the entrepreneur world where I was too fast for the European Space Agency because I don't know if you have worked for government ever, but the European Space Agency is like working for 15 governments, and 15 governments that don't like each other. So if you have good relationship with the French, the Germans don't like you. If you have good relationship with the Canadians, the Dutch don't like you, and it's very difficult. And I gathered after I left that my competitive advantage was that I was not European, so because I could drink wine and beer and sit down with all nationalities. So that was for me almost a spiritual retreat because I used to work so hard that my speed was just way too fast for them. So I got done so much that they promoted me and promoted me and promoted me, and I was bored, And at some point I was, I think, 35, 36. And I just woke up to what was going on. I was the most senior woman of that company. It was an outsourcing company working for the European Space Agency. I was the most senior female executive in Europe at the time. So I was sitting with all my colleagues who were men and my bosses who were men, all the management, making these big decisions in these expensive dinners. And some of those decisions were, how we're going to get rid of staff, how much money we can save when we were drinking champagne. I can tell you that I just didn't want to belong to management. And it was irrelevant to being a woman or a man. I mean, they were really respectful with me as a woman. I love them. Many of them are still my friends. But it was the culture. The culture was really not okay. And many of them disagreed with that, but it was so rotten that we individually, we couldn't do anything. And my husband says, there cannot be a revolt in a prison. How can you heal a system when you're within the system? But that was not the only thing that was wrong in my job, in my life. It was wrong, my job, because I was doing something that I absolutely didn't like. Just like Rachel was saying, I went and investigated the things that I loved. I loved art. As I said, I could have been an architect. Now I paint. I was in engineering. I love public speaking. I was a manager. I was controlling invoices. I had some mild level of dyslexia. How can I control invoices? How can I say if the invoice is correct? It was absolutely not suitable. The best way to describe it for me was that I was a Ferrari carrying cement. So I was not a good truck. I was really a very bad truck. I could not carry tons of cement, but I couldn't race. So I was really in the wrong job. And I started the wrong job from the moment I was 18. And I started to transition to realize that everything that happened in my career, everything from IT auditing, management, and their management of technology to the highest level, the problem was not how we talk to each other, but how we talk to ourselves. And the fact that we didn't have meaningful conversations with ourselves. So then I really asked the universe, get me out of here, universe. And it was like this. It was just like this. The only thing that I had was a job. I had no friends, bad relationship with family. I didn't have a boyfriend because, of course, nobody was good enough for me. I was the boss. I earned money. I had an expensive car. They are just, less than. And I just God took me out of that, or the universe, or whatever you want, coincidence. And that was 11 years ago. Suddenly I had nothing. I had no job. I had no car. I can tell you, okay, I had money in the bank. I had some money in the bank, but I had nothing. I didn't have a paycheck at the end of the month. I started studying coaching, and I started to understand this is the way we talk to ourselves. And I started in this entrepreneurial journey of 11 years. And it has been a journey to transform my corporate mindset into entrepreneurial mindset. Has been difficult for me. To be able to have level of flexibility that entrepreneurship demands from you, that was difficult for me. And to actually, what is for me the most difficult, that has been the most difficult, to choose what I'm going to do. Because I like so many things. I could do so many things, but to choose and to decide, this is what I am going to do. This is my focus. And that's something that I have heard many entrepreneurs have. We want to do this and that and that and that and that because we could do that and that and that. And the other problem is that I'm a woman, of course, and I told you that I was agreeable. So I want to save everybody. I want to help everybody. And the last year, end of 2017, beginning of 2018, Hannah met me at that time. That's when I met her. My life collapsed. For personal reasons, it was an absolute disaster of my life. I had to basically close my business. I was crying. I had to get a sabbatical. I had to get a psychologist. I had to get a healer. I'm not going to describe what happened to me, but well, I tell you, because I'm so far. Oh my God, I want to cry now. Oh, this is horrible. It's not a laughing matter. At 48, 47, I remember what happened to me when I was 14, and that was sexual abuse. So it's not a laughing matter. It just broke down all my system. Everything just collapsed. What am I going to do with that information? And the man who did that to me was a dear man to me. How am I going to attack him? How am I going to hate him? How am I going to forgive him? So that was just gigantic. I have to tell you, thanks to my friends, the healers, coaches, psychologists, friends. It was, the way I like to put it nowadays is like a dragon bit me, and the poison of the dragon got inside of me, and it's like I got better. So now I dare to say, no, I don't help those customers. Now I help these customers, and now it really feels like God is doing my marketing. I wanted to do a retreat, but I was terrified of doing it. A friend of mine told me, you have to use my house. You have to use my house. This monument, 16th century. And okay, but I don't know. I'm afraid who's going to go. And she says, I'm going on holiday. You go on holiday and I haven't gone to a retreat? She says, okay, we do the retreat that day. How am I going to get the people? Nobody's going to go. And I just put Eventbrite. I'm doing this retreat. And it was full, the retreat. They were the perfect people who I put my avatar to be. And at the end, one of the customers said, you have the responsibility to take it to more women. It's just, I empathize a lot with Rachel that it's like being bored right now, like she was contacted by this dream job. For me, it was that retreat, that this dream. And everything is just like a magic. I get helpers, I get books, I get resources, I get volunteers and customers, and they call me. So it's, I think when life becomes, well, I believe both things. When the proverbial hits the fan, you cry and you suffer, and it's painful because it has to happen. I mean, death and loss, and is part of life. It's like the night. And our duty as humans, and especially as women, is to live in that borderline, like a bicycle, in that borderline between chaos, the unknown, the witch, the darkness, and the known, the certain, the MBA, the Excel file, the newspapers. And we live in that between the mysticism and the, now I take the Saklek, the business-like world. And yeah, I'm very grateful for you to listen to my story, for asking me, and I'm open for questions.
Yeah, so now we have the time for questions. Thank you, Blanca, for your story.
You're welcome.
If you have questions, you can write them in the chat we have, but you can as well raise your hand, and we are now unmute the listeners so they can ask questions. So maybe I can ask with the first question. So I was taking notes, and maybe Morgan, you mentioned like focus on your strengths. So maybe for the audience, how do you find out your strengths? How you make this analysis of yourself?
That's it's a process. And it has several aspects to it. So what it is essentially what you're doing, the process is self-discovery. And what you're great at, how you develop will be different today than in 10 years. So what you're looking at in terms of time frame is now and recent past. And you can always revisit things that you were great as a kid at. I love that idea that Rachel brought up. But that's the term that I usually work with. And what you look at is what you think you're good at, what you like to do, as well as things that you're good at, but you don't like to do so much either. Because what I've noticed, at least in my career, is that sometimes I thought, I don't like doing this, or I always have to do this. People think I'm great at this, but I'm not. I don't like it. However, it wasn't that I didn't like that, what I was doing. It was the way it was in that situation. For example, I'm very good at operational management. I say I'm good at this because others have observed that, and I have a true proven track record in that. However, in the situation I was doing it in, it was in a very specific buying and production setting, and that's what I wasn't liking. Not that operational management, it was just the setting, so other things. So I think it's also important to stay open to how you assess what you're good at, what you're not good at. The other aspect of it is receiving feedback. Feedback, and this is something that's very difficult to remember, especially when we're getting negative feedback, is that feedback is a gift. So instead of having a reaction, if someone says, hey, you're not very good at being concise, for example, you have to remember, okay, this is first of all, it's one person's perspective. And then aside from that, it's not meant to hurt you. It's reflection. It's helping you. And it helps to also get trained coaches and mentors who can, so trained coaches and mentors, peer mentors, for example, not necessarily trained in mentoring, and ask for their feedback as well. So people who work with you, people who are completely objective, as well as what you think. Those are ways to that I've discovered those strengths. And it's very important, I find, to give yourself the time to reflect and the space. So some of it's on the job, but some of it could be like taking yourself, going to a retreat, or taking a day, a morning off to take a walk or read the newspaper in a cafe alone, and really just sit with yourself and think about, what am I good at? What am I not good at? Run through situations, go through your resume and think of, what jobs did I like? What did I not like? What aspects did I like? So that's how I've done the process. And I like to go over it in times of, when you have a breakdown, it's a really great time to have a breakthrough after that. So when you're going through, as Blanca was saying, a darker time, that's a great time to reflect. But another time to reflect that's a great time is when you're doing well, when you can celebrate your successes. As well as, I try to do it about every half year, a reflection, a personal reflection, and definitely every year. It's why this time of, before our New Year's resolutions, as you put it for the podcast, I think it's really great to be reflecting at this time of year. Where do I want to go? What do I love? What's the next step?
Can I elaborate on this?
Yes.
So totally agree with what you say, Morgan. And another way how I looked at my strengths and how I found them is Ikigai. And I just discovered them half a year ago, but Ikigai is a Japanese method to look at what you're good at, even if you don't like to do it, like you said, what others think you're good at, then have that all put together and mirror them, let's say, look at the trend, and then say, how can I add this to the world, to a company? How can I make a difference in the world? And then put it all together, and you'll find your Ikigai, which is basically your passion that you can exploit. So I would say definitely use what you said, and then maybe as a second step, do the Ikigai test. It's an online questionnaire that you can do for free. That's it.
Cool.
Wow, I spend years doing this, and there's just a tool.
Sorry.
Don't you love that? when
Yeah.
she, oh, that's just lean.
And I have to give credits to Juan of the RSM Alumni Relations for this. I did not discover it myself. Yeah, so it's Ikigai. I'll put it in the chat, by the way. It's easier for everyone. Just
Can I ask a question?
To add something there. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Yes.
Yes, I'm Hofi.
Hi.
I cannot hear you, Hofi. Can you speak closer to the microphone?
Yeah, do you hear me better now, or?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So thanks a lot for sharing your stories. Very interesting. I also wanted to elaborate a little bit on Ikigai, because I'm still studying, so I have my final assignment at the MBA program at RSM. Just hopefully I will have it done on Wednesday, Santa Claus Day. But actually I took a course in strategy and leadership, and then we had to work on Ikigai, use that framework. It was very interesting to me. So I can highly recommend it, because I did that course and I did my assignment, and then I went to Catalonia for the leadership retreat, which was a really good warm-up for that. And then also what I have used a lot with when when I sit down with my employees and discuss their performance, I use Strength Finder. Have you heard about Strength Finder?
I was just mentioning Strength Finder.
Oh, you were mentioning
2.0.
Yeah, because it was, especially when I joined the bank that I was working for, the employees were so tired of always the same questions, and it was always about how they could improve. It was not about continuing what they did well.
Mm-hmm.
So at least I found that very helpful.
May I say something? May I adopt something else? One of the things that has helped me very much, because sometimes I'm tired of those questions of what am I good at or what I like, is what kind of life would I like to have? Where would I like to wake up? What would I like to dress? What I like to eat? Who I like to be with? What I want to be talking about? To your perfect day, that for me is very helpful. That has allowed me to make really tough decisions in my life.
We do in our coaching with Evenel, we do the ideal day as an exercise. And another exercise that we do is, who would you like to be spending that ideal day with? So what we do is we take a piece of paper, we draw a circle, and in the middle is yourself. And then you do a ring of each round of people that you would like to be spending meaningful time with. And then as that goes out, it's less and less time. And it doesn't mean that you don't respect and appreciate people, but I find that the feedback we get is that there's a lot of surprising results. So they'll say, I didn't know that this coach was so important to me, or that this friend in another country was so important to me.
Awesome.
And then that helps them with figuring out not only what do I want, but what does that lifestyle look like? Who am I sharing that ideal day that you brought up,
cool,
Blanca, with?
Do we have another question? Do you have another question? I find it really remarkable that we end up speaking for entrepreneurs, graduates from RSM, and it has changed a lot the career perspective for everybody, and I guess especially for women. I think we want our own recipe of what success is, and I'm really delighted to just remark, just to put the light in that the four of us are entrepreneurs, and Wow, I'm curious and excited by that coincidence. No scientific comments. Cool.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I have questions, but I took notes about the highlights maybe of your conversation to sum up. I think one coming from the last one, from Blanca, to choose and decide what to do is one note. The way we talk to ourselves, I think it's as well very important to know ourselves, to know what we want, or even the ikigai or the ideal day, or with whom we want to be, or to have the conversations every day. I think it's very important to know ourselves and to have this everyday conversation to ourselves. Focus on the strengths and developing ourselves as a journey, not as a one day I am thinking, but it's a process, it's a life process, and we have to be fine with this. It's a life process. It's not a point we end and from day one everything is fine. No, it's not that way. This self-reflection, I think, is the same like talking to ourselves. Take calculated risk. I like this a lot because when we make decisions, it's about when we have pros and cons. That's life, and what we want to risk is one choice. Never been afraid. I think like Eleanor Roosevelt said, do something scares you every day. So I think this is a very good tip if we want to go ahead on what we want to do. It's a very good tip. Spend day with your people you like, your cycle. To find this, I think one of the key points was when we found the thing we like and we have this passion, everything is super easy. We are on like we can say we are on the flow. Everything is so easy, and it's easy. Like you mentioned as well, God brings something. So it's like the universe is with you going to this path. I think it's when and when it's too hard, then maybe it's not the way. So that's maybe an open eyes point. And continue what you do well. But it's like one question from Rachel, like said, yeah, I was doing very good all this marketing, but it was not my thing. No, I think we can do things very good, but it's maybe not our things. And like it's another point, like you brought Blanca, like we can do many things very good, but that's not means it's our passion or the thing we want to do.
Yeah. And that it gives us,
or maybe the way
it's not about happiness, but it's about giving us a reason of existence. I mean, we could do so many things and we could make money in so many different ways, but if we can not look at ourselves in the mirror, we feel filthy for generating money that way, then it's not a good way of living life. Somebody wanted to say something.
Yeah. Rachel, you wanted to say something?
No, it's Morgan, I think.
I was just going to say that when you're exactly when Blanca was talking about when things were going well, I was thinking of the word flow too. So that's a very common New Age knowledge that this is it's called you're in flow. And this aspect of when things aren't going right or you think you don't like something, what I really noticed is that it might just be the way it's not the concept itself, it's not the idea itself that's bad or doesn't suit you or that you don't love, it's the way it's being executed. So maybe you love to help people, but being a nurse or a doctor or surgeon that doesn't suit you. Maybe you want to I don't know, teach yoga class, or maybe you want to lead a company. Maybe that's your way of helping people. But it's not, the issue is not helping people. So it's very important to dial down what you're passionate about and what you're good about, and try to look for synonyms or similar ways of doing this. Like, for example, if you love art, does that mean you're going to do oil painting? Or does it mean that you're going to build buildings? Or does it mean you're going to build solutions in an innovation department or an R&D, or be an engineer? It's also very creative. So finding, these are the steps of that journey that we were talking about being what you want. Doesn't all have to be at the same time, but it's not always going to look exactly as you think it will. And it's about figuring that out. For myself, for example, why I don't work in fashion anymore. That maybe that solution, fashion was a solution, but the fit, it wasn't quite what I wanted, but there was something about it, maybe the creativity that interests me. And the way to execute that I could express myself better was through helping people and through developing individuals and businesses. So figuring out what you want, what you're great at, I really think that it's in so many ways an inside journey, but a journey with the people around you, including organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You want to make the conclusion, Blanca?
I want to make the conclusion. I want to wish you a very happy end of the year. I want to share with you something a bit crazy, because I thought it was crazy actually when a friend told me. A friend told me last week, Thursday, that she did an exercise of writing down everything, how badly treated she was and how much blame she had on people and life and everybody. And then she released it. And I found out she's crazy. She's crazy because, of course, there is always a justification why people are nasty at us. We can't forgive, and we're nice people, we're nice girls. We just forget about it. And I just kept thinking, And I actually did what my friend told me. I wrote everything that I blamed to everybody, and I just told all the anger and all the things. It was so unfair, and this is so unfair, and that is so unfair. And I wrote everything on the paper, and the other side of the paper, I wrote everything that I wanted. And I want to be treated this way, and I want to be treated that way. And then I let it go. I let it go, and really, I burn it. And I let go of the attachment, really like the Buddha. The reason of suffering is because we're attached. And we're attached to the negative, because oh, poor little me, I'm the victim, and we're attached to the lack. Oh, I wish that it would be better. So I offer you this for your renewal of your year, for the new year, and that will open you for the something better that is above the things that you don't have and the things that you are standing. So yeah, that's what I offer you as a closing. And I am incredibly thank you to everybody who has been here, and everybody who has, especially the speakers, but everybody who has been here all the year, especially you, and Juan, if you see us, and Sue, and Hetty, and everybody else in RSM, and everybody else around, because we have other friends. And we wish you really, really Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you for 2019.
So thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Morgan. And thank you for all for this webinar. And Happy New Year and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. See you next year.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao.